Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. Thank you for attending today. My name is Polly Hopkins, and I would like to introduce you to my colleague, Anthony Pritchard, who is the Technical Director at Storm Geomatics. Anthony has been involved in GeoRiver's development since its conception, and this year we celebrate 10 years of GeoRiver. Anthony, I will be handing over to in a moment. We're just waiting for a few more people to come along and join us. We do have attendees from all over the globe, which we're thrilled to accept and welcome you all. If you have any questions at the end of the webinar, please do pop them into the chat and Anthony will endeavour to answer them to the best of his ability, which I'm sure he will be able to do very easily at the end of his presentation. So without further ado, like to hand over to Anthony, and thanks again, everyone, for attending.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. We'll just give it probably 2 more minutes because there's always a few late arrivals. So we'll just give it 2 more minutes and then we'll get going. Okay, thank you. I'll just give it 1 more minute and then we'll get underway. Okay. Right, I think we'll make a start there. Welcome everybody and thanks for joining us. We've had a huge amount of people register for this webinar today. Not so many on live, but that's not the end of the world. Yeah, so fantastic. Thank you very much for your time. Let's get underway and see what GeoRiver can do for you. So hopefully you can all now see my screen. I'll just sort a few bits and pieces out and you can hear me loud and clear. So GeoRiver, from survey to solution, automation, streamlined data transfer and enhancement of data. So that's, oops. So this is how the next half an hour looks, sort of a whistle-stop tour of GeoRiver, a bit about history. Then our 3 aspects of the software: automation, streamlining of data transfer, enhancement of data, and then what our existing users say about us and some questions before we finish. So for those that don't know, what is GeoRiver? So GeoRiver is a cloud licensed bespoke software program for the processing of river channel data to produce Environment Agency specification deliverables. That's what it was created specifically for, and also output in modeling format files with structure information. Okay, so obviously the Environment Agency specification, yes, it's tailored to the England and most of the UK, but exporting modeling file formats are obviously sort of worldwide, very similar outputs for flood modeling, HEC-RAS and such like. Although the software has been designed specific for a specific purpose of river channels. It's obviously also used by our users for other linear features such as road and rail and embankments. So the limitations don't end with just rivers. And it is our 10th birthday. So it's 10 years since we've had a full working version, commercially available version of GeoRiver. So a little bit about myself and the team here at Storm Geomatics. So you can see I've been surveying for over 23 years now, and my colleague and managing director Mike has been surveying for 32. So we're looking at 55 plus years of survey experience, all within this sector of inland water, predominantly channel surveys for the Environment Agency, and creating information to EA specification. So I'm a review examiner of the CICS, and also recently last year, I think it was, or the year before, a member of the working group reviewing the competencies for the hydrographic, now called the hydrospatial route, and I'm technical lead of GeoRiver. Mike has spent, I think, 9 years on the Survey Association Technical Committee, 3 of those as chair, raising standards and promoting best practices throughout the industry. So Storm Geomatics was established in 2006, and we've steadily grown in size and reputation to be a leading survey company with a focus on inland water surveys. Like I said, predominantly river channel surveys for flood modelling. We work closely with flood modelling engineers to develop GeoRiver, and we aim to close the gap between the surveyor and the engineer with our data. So it's more comprehensive, it's more fit for purpose, there's added value there all the way through. So the history of GeoRiver. So back in 2014 is when we turned an idea. The idea actually, came before that, but it came to fruition in around 2014, where we had a program that was fully working, and you could process a river channel survey. Obviously, it's developed along the way, but that was a working program. 2015, we partnered with JBA Consulting. Previously, we had just a sort of a general software company developing the software, and it was difficult to translate what we wanted to them. Obviously, joining JBA, they had software developers who were also modelers or involved in modeling, river modeling, and the transition or the ability to detail updates and developments was a lot easier there. 2016, they essentially rewrote most of the code, sort of future-proofing it, bringing it up to modern standards. 2018, we released version 1.5.1 and continue to work through it, developing it, developing the speed, the automation, number of mouse clicks, all those things that reduce time in processing. Back in 2020, we resumed sole ownership of the software, and then employed our wonderful software engineer Nethra, who works tirelessly on GeoRiver and other projects for us. But yeah, that's been a great progression, having our own our own engineer in-house. And we can completely and utterly direct where the software goes with the help of our users and their ideas too. So then we're up to last year, we released 1.5.6, and we're just about to release 1.5.7. So lots of development and progression there, providing a good, stable software. So automation. This is mainly aimed at the surveyor area, at the front end of processing. So first one I've just put on here is photo file renaming. It sounds pretty simple, pretty obvious, but I know many surveyors who are using software within CAD, or it's not a bespoke program. It's an add-on or part of a wider program So you've got maybe a general survey software, ground modeling software package, and then it might have an add-on for channels, or not necessarily channels, it might be roadways and things like that. So the adding of photos, the renaming of photos is a manual process. So within GeoRiver, this is the view of the GeoRiver screen. You know, you can add photos in manually, or you can bring them in using the metadata and coordinates if they have it. And you place your photo where you took it, and then you set the bearing. This window pops up. You've got your file path to your photograph. You can see this is the original file name. And then in the description, you don't add anything in there because it takes the name from the cross section. So if it was upstream, so this one's upstream view of sluice. So this would come out with sluice perhaps in the description. And the only thing you set here is this drop-down menu here, which is, for this one, it says upstream. Generally, you always have associate with nearest cross-section ticked, because that's the default. And then your export provides you with this, your cross-section, all your photos named with this suffix, left bank, right bank, upstream, whichever it is, whichever you've set it to here. And then your CSV, which comes out with it, provides you with your chainage, photo description, easting, northing, bearing, date and time, and your file name. All automated, no mistakes there. So if you want, if you're hot linking photos for QGIS or something like that, all that is done very easily because there's no manual editing and any of that data. It's all automated, so there's no problems or errors cropping up there. Skew angles. So again, we have to provide skew angles, important part of flood modelling, and also required in a specific way for Environment Agency specification. So you can see in this drawing here, we've got a photo of an arched bridge. You can just see the pink and magenta lines. That's the line work from the actual drawing of the cross section. And then we've set out this blue line, which is actually the blue line or the bridge configure, which tool which we use to identify or create the boundary or the opening which goes forward for flood modeler export. So you can see as soon as we create that, skew angle has come out in this skew box. And if we go forward from here, as soon as you press OK with that box, the skew diagram appears at below your drawing in GeoRiver. And when you export it, your skew angle comes out. This is the EA template, which we have to use. So this was normally, it used to be done manually. So now this is fully automated, and that comes out when you export your cross-section data. Tunnel lengths, so the same for that. So if you've got an upstream and a downstream face surveyed, then it automatically works out your tunnel length between the two faces. If you've got only soffit and invert data on the downstream face of a structure, which you do for smaller bridges where the upstream and downstream face are the same, you will pick up a point on that downstream face on the soffit or the invert, and all you do is highlight that point, right click, use as tunnel identifier, and it will set the tunnel identifier, the tunnel length up here. Okay, so again, that's fully automated and appears at the top of your cross section. Updating of cross section names changes when amending and reversing center lines. So this is another one. In a lot of other programs, it's not automated like it is in GeoRiver. So in GeoRiver, you might have a reach. There's various parts of the UK, very flat areas like the Fens, where there's lots of drains, very low-lying drains, level drains that run one way when the pump is running, or it's pumped water, and then they run another way. Or you might survey something on site and then get it into GeoRiver and realise actually the fall is actually in the other direction. So just at a click of a button, you can reverse the reach. It updates all the chainages as well. If you're editing a center line, so you need to edit the center line to flow better through your survey data, you can edit the center line, and as you move the center line and edit the center line, which obviously changes the length of the center line, everything updates. So all your chainages updates, and then anything there exported from there onwards obviously takes the new chainage through. So that's all happens in real time. There's no waiting or manual amendments or anything. It's all updated live. Final one just to look at. Obviously, these are just some of the key points I'm just picking out here. So long sections here. So this is handy for both the surveyor and the engineer. If the engineer's using the flood modelling engineers using GeoRiver, so you can see here we've got a long section or a little part of a long section. There's a weir here and a bridge here. So you can see it's very complicated. You can't quite see what's going on. And if you're the engineer, you would normally receive this long section in a set scale, normally 2,500 in the X and 100 in the Y. But obviously, if you've got GeoRiver, you can change this to any scale you want. So obviously, I've changed that to 200 in the X. So you can see that that's the bridge there, and you can clearly see the shape of the weir. Obviously, you could go to 100 and 100 to really see the true shape of the weir. Again, as a flood modeler, you just normally get the long section in one direction as well. It might not be the direction you want it in, and in its true location on Earth, the river flows the other way to what you've had delivered the long section. So you can just use this invert reach flow direction, and it will flow the long section the other way. So nice and handy, very easy to do. So streamline data transfer. So with GeoRiver, it's all about having the exact file types to go into the right software. We're not in that stage of delivering XYZs in CSVs and leaving flood modeling engineers to shoehorn data in. We want to give the exact data. So as well as the outputs, we've got these inputs. So into GeoRiver, you can import EACSD. Now that's the Environment Agency Channel Survey Data system or file. We have to provide that for all Environment Agency specification projects. It's a data file of all the points on the project. No one really looks at it or uses it, but it is there, and we have to create it for all projects. But it contains a lot of information. And we can import these, as well as export these files, we can import these files as well. We can also import Flood Modeler MIC files and HEC-RAS files. Okay, so if you're building a catchment up of historic data and you've got models, existing models in different data sets, you can easily bring them in to GeoRiver and then export, make amendments, edits, validate data, let's say, and then export in your required format. Any survey from the last probably 10 or 12 years should have in England would definitely have an EACSD file, and we can bring that in as well. That contains all the structure information, so it would draw all the structures as well. So going on to data output types, we can output data again in this EACSD file. We can output data in Flood Modeler files, MIC files, InfoWorks, ICM files, HEC-RAS, and 2Flow. Okay, so we're not about, like I said, giving you an XYZ and hoping there you go. We don't really care about what you do with the data. We've given you XYZ code data and the drawings and the whatever. That's not what we're about. We want to enhance your data transfer, your model build, and provide you as much information and value in everything we give you. So 1D, 2D linking line. So if you're building a 1D model, 1D, 2D model, and you need that line separation between the models, more often than not, you would be picking that out of LiDAR and creating it yourself. It's an extra step. If you've had or asked for additional bank levels between cross sections, so say 20-meter intervals, a lot of the work we do now, we're doing additional crest levels or spill levels between the cross sections. And using this export here, just highlight this radio button here and export. We can export a file like so here. So it has a point number. So this is starting at the downstream end on the left bank, and then it goes from one cross section to another. Then we've got a left bank point there, an additional one. Then we've got another cross section. That's the crest point for cross section. Then we've got several intermediate left bank points, more sections, then more left bank points, and then you can see we get transfer over, got a couple more sections, then we transfer over to the other side of the river, and we're going back up the river because we've got right bank points here. So that creates a numbered from the lowest point on the left bank all the way up the left bank, taking in all the crests and spill points that have been surveyed, and just producing this simple, easy single file, which you can download it, drag it into QGIS, points to polygon. You've got a polygon line there ready to go. Truncated or shortened sections. Again, we've got this for your 1D modeling. So you can just click this now, export your cross sections either as a single export or a single file, individual files or in a single file, with whatever you want from here below ticked. So in this file, we've got easting northing height, we've got code, then we've got the chainage, and you can see the chainage doesn't start at 0 here for this cross section because we're on a truncated section. So we started at the crest. We've got a Manning's roughness value there, and we've got the file name. And if we go down to the next crest, you can see these are, so we're going from crest to crest for 1D modeling, and we've got the chainage there, and you can see we skip then to the new section from this crest here, and you can see we go from 48 to 38 there. So again, we're trying to create this seamless transfer of data and give more value to the to our data to the flood modeler. So enhancement of data. So Manning's N roughness values. So we have to create a surface type and value for our EACSD files, which are created for the Environment Agency. And this is just a snapshot of part of it. So this is Conveyance Estimation System 2, and then there's 1 as well, and 3. So what we've done, because within this EACSD file, you get these abbreviations for all the surface types, and then there's one for the that's obviously the ground material, and then we've got one for vegetation. And what we've done is not only just using these to create our EACSD file, we've created a transfer of the surface type into a Manning's N value. So we've got these default values. So this is reed, that's grass. You've got moss, subplant, what's that? Parallel crop and perpendicular crop, that's what it is, turf, medium grass, tall grass. So we've got all these different values, and we've got default values. So within the software, you can also add your own custom values, and you can put those in, and once they're set, they're set. Obviously, you can edit them, but every time you open GeoRiver, they will be set for your purpose. So again, as a modeler, you can have that set up. Now these, at the moment, these Mannings, they go through to any of the XYZ outputs, and they also go directly through to flood modeler outputs. So file type options, we touched on this previously, but that enhancement comes from being able to deliver data in exactly what you want. So for HEC-RAS, we've got geo or project file outputs, so with or without structures essentially. We've got flood modeler here again, click of a button, we can export with or without structures and provide both options. We've got mic exports where the chainage runs from the lowest center deep, the deepest point of the bed is the center of the channel, and you've got minus chainages across going left, and then plus positive chainages going right. It's got that export, we've got EACSD, we've got TFlow, and we've got InfoWorks ICM. Ownership of original data. So this is quite important as well. So when a project's sent and delivered to an engineer, they essentially, unless it's asked for, which it is occasionally, not very often, the engineer does not receive the original data. All these points have been snapped. So on the screen here, we've got a plan view of a cross section. So this is a cross section depicted by this red line. The blue line is the center line of the river, and it's flowing north. So you can see the green points, no points. That's where the point's actually taken, and then it's snapped back to this line. And you can see here, this on this open channel, the surveyor has done a really good job of keeping the points pretty much perpendicular to the flow of the river and a pretty good line. However, they've got out of bank here into the floodplain, and there's obviously an obstruction here. So they've had to take the two final points away from the line of the cross section. Now I'm guessing here this ground level is very similar to this ground level, and it has little impact. But on some structures and in different places, like on head walls and areas of embankments, you might find that the cross section runs across the face of the structure, but then it comes right out and along the toe of the embankment, let's say. So by losing that original data, you might get some conflict when you're comparing ground levels, cross-section levels to your ground levels from your LiDAR model. And just having ownership of that data just resolves things, small issues, a lot quicker. Moving on to TFlow. So part of our TFlow export, you've got height width tables, which I haven't even mentioned in this this webinar at all, really. But height width tables are automated. And here we've got a section of data from you've got a culvert there and a bridge there. This is a network file, a mid file, I think it is, or MIF file. And you've got your inverts and your upstream and downstream inverts. You've got your, over here would be your dimensions of your opening. Further on, we've also got exit and entry loss coefficient default values as well, just to save time with some of the default figures in these tables. So it's all about saving time and adding value to what we can do for the surveyor and the engineer. So what's next for GeoRiver? Well, this is just a screenshot of GeoRiver. We've got the photograph of the cross-section here. We've got the cross-section view, window view here. We've got a plan view up here, and we've got a long section here. And you can have all these open on your screen at the same time, or open across a couple of screens, or open on one screen and you've got your model build prep going on another screen. And it's very handy to have this all available at scales that you want, be able to export different things, different items as and when you need them. So what's next for GeoRiver? We see more engineers taking up using GeoRiver to help as part of their model build process. We also might look forward to a day when this is provided in a browser format potentially, rather than in a software program. So you could deliver it to an engine, the flood modeler in a browser. These are just some of the options we're thinking about, and obviously always keen to hear ideas from our users. So what our existing users say. So these are just some statements from existing users over the last couple of years. So GeoRiver has saved a large amount of time, allowing for multiple sections and reaches to be processed at the same time. The sections are much more user-friendly and easier to read than other cross-sections produced in our software. We estimate GeoRiver has probably halved the time we take processing deliverables. None of these statements are from our own guys. These are all from outside users. Having the data in a good format ready for import into Flood Modeler / TwoFlow saves days of time. I mean, that's, you know, some bold statements here, which, you know, that's how it is. GeoRiver was particularly useful for easily bringing cross sections and photos together for viewing, reviewing in order and space. Here's a couple of latest ones. These are a bit more in depth, and you can just read through some of that. I'm just going to pop to the last, rather than read it all, pop to the last paragraph. Using GeoRiver results in time saving on site and in the office, with office processing times much improved compared to those of other software I've used in the past. So thanks to Stephen for that from Survey Solutions. Here's another one from Cameron Hughes, owner director at Hughes Hydro Surveys. Again, there's some great words in there. I'm not going to read them all out. I might just take the last part of that, very last part. In closing, Storm Geomatics offer first-class guidance, help and support throughout. You know, some fantastic testimonials there. How are we doing for time? We're nearly there. So yeah, you know, I'll just read some more of these. We've got a second. What I really like about GeoRiver is that bespoke software designed by knowledgeable, experienced surveyors who have an intricate understanding of the nuances associated with surveying and processing river channels. Yeah, that's, you know, this isn't the piece of software that, you know, is being designed on the side or anything. It's the heart of everything we do. And we're trying to build that bridge and get more from our data. In, you know, from the surveying side through to the flood modelling preparation side. And it's not just the surveyor in the office as well. It'll be a slightly different way of working on site, which Cameron alludes to here, I think. And, you know, you can work quicker on site in a more logical manner. You can jump about, you can do, if your river is of a certain size and things are difficult, you can do all the points on one bank, get in a boat, do all the boat work in the center of the channel, and then do all the work on the right bank. As long as you're just coding your cross sections individually, all the data will just come in beautifully. So there's benefits all around, starting from the planning stage to heading out on site, surveying, processing that data, and then delivering that data to the engineer. That is, you know, that is what we're trying to have, this whole seamless process from start to finish and adding as much value. So there's loads of value in what we have to create for that EACSD file for the Environment Agency specification. But we've looked to try and use the value that is in that, because I know modelers don't either know what it is or they don't use it and they have no intention of using it. I think I did a presentation at TwoFlow, I can't think, was it last year or the year before? I think it was last year, at the TwoFlow conference, and I had about 45, 50 people in the room, I think, and I asked who knows what EACSD is, file is, and one person put their hand up. So it has value. We are creating it as part of our specification, and anybody who is undertaking work to EA spec will be producing an EACSD file, and they're creating those surface types. So we're taking that data that we have to create anyway, and we're trying to use it in a, you know, an added value way through to the flood modeler, taking small but monotonous tasks off the flood modeler and being able to take some of that workload. Obviously, the modelers, their job to review that data, to review what we've put in there. Have we, you know, created the structures as they want them, or as they would normally. So there's an element of reviewing and amending, but we're trying to close that gap. Anyway, thank you very much for your time today. That has been a very quick half an hour, but I hope you all have learned something from it, and gained an insight into GeoRiver and perhaps what it can do for you. When you get this webinar sent through, if you click on this free gift here, it will take you to a little calculator, and it will tell you how quickly you can process a certain amount of cross sections depending on what you want to output. We've also got this 1 month trial license, so there's absolutely nothing stopping you taking that trial license. Just email me at this email address at the top. Just drop me an email, and I can set you up with a free license. With that, you'll get 2 hours of up to 2 hours of sort of demo / training. We can go through usually go through a complete model, GeoRiver model, what a complete model looks like, then take it back and create a model with 10 or 15 sections in it, how you process structures, how do you export the data. But essentially, for a surveyor, if you're used to processing a river channel survey, essentially you know the start and you know the finish, and you know the processes. Picking up GeoRiver, I mean, you'll learn it in 2 hours. It's so intuitive, simple to learn, because there are only everything within the program is designed for the program. It's not an add-on to a larger piece of software where you've got thousands of commands. So everything in there is very targeted towards the process of processing a channel survey through. There is also a library of YouTube channels, YouTube videos, sorry, on our YouTube channel. So and a brand new website. So if you head to the website, you can connect to all the YouTube videos in there, and they are split into overview, surveyor videos, and engineer videos. And it goes through all the little tasks, each task in a separate video, essentially. So if you want to export two-flow or create height width tables and export them, there's a video for that. If you want to create bring in cross-section data, there's a video for that. Okay, so there's videos for everything, explainer videos for everything. And you can see the cost there. Monthly single user license is £150 a month, and an annual license for a single user is £12.50. And you basically install, because it's cloud license, you install the software on any number of machines. And when you go to open the software, if the license is free, your software opens. If it's not free, it will tell you who's using it. You can also log out the license on a laptop. So if you're going on site, you want to take it on site with you into the hotel and that sort of thing, you can log in to the software and sign out the license for a period of time, so days, up to 7 days at a time. So as soon as you've locked it out, you don't need an internet connection, and you can go away and use it happily. No one else can use it in that time because it's locked out. As soon as you unlock it with an internet connection, then it's free for others to use. So you've got a really easy way of just clocking in and clocking out of the software. As it says there, you can add any combination of licenses, and all combinations for longer term commitment and additional licenses do come with cost reductions, and there's a table on the website which outlines that. So
thank you, Anthony.
Better stop talking.
Thanks, Anthony. We've got a few questions here that have been supplied by everybody that's watching today. The first one from Nick is, how are the photos added to the software? Do they need to be geo-referenced at the time taken?
No, is the easy answer to that. So No, so your photos don't need to be georeferenced. They can be, but you place photos. So obviously, what we do is we have a field card and we take our photos, left bank, centre, right bank, turn around and do upstream for most surveys. And we keep that very much the same, left bank, downstream, right bank, upstream. So you've got your file with all your photos in, and then you just work through, insert, and you can just, as you click on the photo, it pops up in GeoRiver, and then you one click to place it, and the next click to place its bearing or direction of view. If you've got metadata of the position, it will come up in a slightly different box with the coordinates below it, and you hit place rather than place it yourself, but you still have to give it the direction of view. But it's very simple and very quick, and you can get through lots quickly.
That's great, thank you. The next question from Ian is, do you have a time frame for the next update, please? And I think this actually rolls into another question that we had. What are the features of the new update? If you could briefly describe those for us, thank you.
The new updates are, I can start. The skew angle automation is one. The tunnel length automation is another. There is a being able to export all the original positional, all the ground data in its original position. So there's a quick export for that. There is, one second, let me get to where the, I can't think where I put them now. Oh, 1 second. What else is on there? Oh, through section. So cranking, or so on a through section now. So for a weir or something like that, where you've got through section data, now the software doesn't allow any, at the moment, there's lots of overwriting in a through section. So it's removed that. So you get the cranking lines like you do in a cross section. And you have the ability to turn off the left bank and the right bank levels if you want to, or the water levels if you want to just show the bed, the through section of the bed, you can do that. There is also Google Earth background imagery now in the latest development, in the latest version coming out. So you've got Google, I think it's like Google Earth streaming in, which is great. We've got, what did I say? So I said skew angle. Oh yeah, tunnel length. You've got a copy and reassign points, so you can copy points between cross sections and reassign points to cross sections if you've taken them in the wrong cross section and then imported the data, started doing some work, and then you realise, oh, some points are in the wrong cross section. It's a very simple left click, right click, select where you want, which cross section you want it to go to. Got amendments to HEC-RAS structure outputs. Another one is the project number now goes in. You add your project number in, so your formal project number, which is probably usually your client's project number, so it would be an EA number quite often. You put that in in the project properties, and now when you export all the file types, they also come through with the EA product codes. So those who work to EA specification will know that there's product codes that have to go in each file name now. So those product codes are all automated. So for all the photos, flood modeler files, XYZ files, all the file types have the correct product code. CAD files, yeah.
What time frame are we looking at to get this release out? Is one of the questions
release,
that we have.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, will be out before the end of the month. Yeah, you've got another one on the cross sections, so just to make things tidier. So now on cross sections, if you're putting lots of invert and soffit markers on there to display heights and levels, you can turn them to not show when they're exported, or you can turn them to be ghosted when they're exported. So just in your cross-section view, you can have things a lot tidier on export. So when you export them, you haven't got overwriting, which you need to go and adjust, because you can tell the level when it's exported. You don't want it shown. So you might have something on the cross-section which you want to show on a long section, but when the cross-section is exported, you don't want to show that marker on the cross-section. So now you can just left click, right click, tell it you don't want it seen on the cross-section export. Yeah, so you've got flood modeler export with a tab. You can export it without structures. That's it. There's a few little tiny amendments about things, just putting an OK button here in a window staying open somewhere else to speed up processes. But that's it. So there's quite a lot for the surveyor in this next version, basically automation to speed things up.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
And finally, as we're running out of time, I've got one last question. Can it be purchased for just a month or two for a small project?
Yeah. So 1 month is £150. If you want it for 2 months, that's not a problem. You can have it for 4 months. You can have it for a month and then get to the end of that month and go, oh, I haven't quite finished. I'll buy another month. Yeah, you can either, yeah, if you just go to the website, there is a now there's there was a PayPal payment system, but now it's just a normal payment system like you would buy anything, say from Amazon or whatever. There's a payment system there, and you can pay. If you pay the amount, an email comes through to me and I will create a license and I will send you that license. If you're a first-time user, I will obviously offer you the training and demo, and because that's what I want. I want you to get up and running with it properly, so you get past the first hurdle of oh, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I'm bored with it. I'm going to walk away from it. So I want you to have that couple of hours training. Sometimes it doesn't even take 2 hours before people get up and running and they're away with it. So yeah. So in the first instance, just contact me. If anybody wants to take a trial up, like I said, there's a month trial there. And the purchasing of licensing is as flexible as you like. I think if you used it for more than 8 times in a year, it would be cheaper to buy an annual license. I think I can't remember the maths, but yeah. So, but very flexible. Absolutely, there are people. We have customers that have it for 2 months, miss 2 months, then might buy it for 3 months, miss a couple of months, that sort of thing. Yeah, no, it's as flexible as you like. A month is the minimum period, but you can buy it for up to you can buy a 5-year license if you want, and there's reductions in that license fee. I think if you buy a 5-year license, the total value, the value of the year, each year comes down to 900 and something, as opposed to 1250. So yeah, there's price reductions for that longer term commitment. Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you. If there are any more questions, then if you could quickly pop them into the chat. Nick says, thank you, very insightful. Well, we'd like to thank you all for attending today and giving up your time. Rest assured that we will be sending out this recording to you all, which will have our contact details on it. So please do get in touch. We'd really love to hear from you if we can be of any more assistance. And I would strongly advise you perhaps to take up the trial license. So thank you, everyone, and we will see you again on our next webinar.
Thank you very much, everybody. Sun is shining, so fingers crossed summer is on its way.